Nigerian Baptist Convention is inviting you to another edition of Baptist Nights of Wonders with the theme Showers of Blessing, Ezekiel 34:25-26. Date is Friday, July 14, 2017 at Hebron Baptist Center, Idishin, Ibadan. And time is 9 p.m. Ministering under the auction of the Holy Spirit is the President, Nigerian Baptist Convention, who is also the President, Christian Association of Nigeria, Reverend Dr. Samson Olashipo Ayokunle. And the guest ministers are Pastor Philip Adika and Omotola Sachs. Free buses will be available at Mokola Roundabout, Songo Junction, Gate, Challenge Molete Baptist Church and BCJ Apata. Come and experience God's touch as it will be pouring out His blessings upon His people, and your life shall never remain the same. Jesus is Lord.
A very lovely day to you. Thanks for joining us on News on the Hour here on New Frontiers Television. I am Precious Amayu. On the news, Lafia Dele commander says Boko Haram remains defeated. UI short as students protest. Corona blames drug overdose for Adeleke's death. Sokoto state government to sponsor 200 girls abroad to study medicine. Now the news in full. The Center for Social Justice has called on President Muhammadu Buhari to rejig key personnel in his administration to enable Nigerians to benefit from the campaign promises of the All Progressives Congress-led government. The group, in its assessment of the 2 years in office of the current administration, lamented that majority of Nigerians were now living below the poverty line as the economy had not been managed in the most efficient manner. The group's assessment report was made available to newsmen by the lead director, CSJ Eze Onyekbiri. He called on the federal government to urgently address the twin problems of unemployment and poverty, adding that the decline in economic activities had made life so miserable and intolerable for many people. The Nigerian Bar Association has faulted the federal government's anti-corruption strategy and called for the immediate termination of the investigation of judges that has been on for the past 8 months without any charges filed against them. The NBA also demanded the release of the immediate past National Security Advisor, Colonel Sambo Dasuki, retired, and the leader of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria, also known as Shiite, Sheikh Ibrahim El Zakzaki. Both men have been in custody of the Department of State Services since December 2015, despite various court orders directing the service and the federal government to release them. At a press conference in Abuja, the NBA president, Mr. Abubakar Mahmoud Hassan, said while the continued detention of Dasuki and El Zakzaki was unjustifiable, judges who were being probed but were not charged with any offense should be allowed to resume their judicial functions. The association also advocated a better cooperation between the legislature and executive especially as it related to the leadership of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, which is currently being headed in acting capacity by Mr. Ibrahim Magu. The Akwa Ibom State Governor, Mr. Udom Imam, has said that there can be nothing good about democracy without good governance. Emmanuel added that his administration had laid a solid foundation for the wealth of the state by training indigents to become independent and to be able to take care of their needs. The governor, who said this in Oyo during the second anniversary of his administration, noted that every nation that became prosperous invested heavily in human capacity development. He stated that besides training, the state had also invested in the power and energy sectors, as well as the second runway at the Ibom International Airport. According to him, his administration's vision for development is anchored on three strategic gateways to prosperity: land, sea, and air. The governor revealed that despite attempts by people who played perpetual politics to cause disunity in the state, his administration had remained focused, fostering the bond of unity among different ethnic groups in the state. And now in Sokoto State, Governor Aminu Tambuwa of Sokoto State says his administration has concluded plans to send 200 students to India and other countries to study medicine. The governor said a majority of those to be sponsored would be girls. Tambuwa explained that the program was part of ongoing efforts to reposition the education sector in the state. The governor stressed that the administration will continue to take the bull by the horn and encourage more people in the state to acquire qualitative education in spite of dwindling resources. Tambuwa also spoke on other interventions in the health sector, saying that the government has set up a malaria control agency with a view of taming the disease, which is described as deadlier than HIV/AIDS and cancer. He said that a contributing health agency had been established by the government to utilize some idle funds from the National Health Insurance Scheme, NHIS, to provide affordable healthcare services to the people. We'll take a break now, and when we return, we'll have more news on the hour. Do stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching news on the hour here on New Frontiers Television. Moving on now to education. The management of the University of Ibadan has closed down the school following a protest over the issuance of students' identity cards before the first semester examination and the use of electric-powered cooking appliances in the hostels. At a congress called by the Students' Union on Saturday, resolutions passed included an ultimatum to the school authority to constitute the Students' Welfare Board and set up a committee to look into the issue of the use of electric-powered cooking appliances in the school hostels. The Vice Chancellor of the school, Professor Ideu Olayinka, said that the closure followed a protest by the students and to avert a breakdown of peace on campus. Undergraduate students of the institution were advised to vacate the campus, while the first semester examination, earlier scheduled to hold in June, has been moved to July 17. Away from education now to security, outgoing theater commander Operation Lafayette, Major General Lucky Irabo, has insisted that Boko Haram had been defeated. He noted that statement credited to Governor Kashim Shettima of Borno State that the terrorist group was only decimated and not defeated was not applicable in military operations. General Irabo supported his analogy of the defeat by disclosing that no single local government area or piece of territory in the northeast epicenter of the insurgency in Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa states was in the hands of the terrorist group. He said Boko Haram has been defeated. They no longer have the capacity to carry out the ferocious attacks on communities like they used to do in the past, and their logistics has been taken out. On why troops were still being killed in battle when Boko Haram had reportedly been defeated. Irabo said the defeat of the terrorists and reclaiming of territories is not a guarantee that peace is absolute right now, adding that peace is a state that is futuristic. Rabot said the military frequently provided medical services for the people, teaching support to children, while also educating the citizens on their roles to understand personal security, as well as assist the military in general. The Nigerian Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has adopted cash transfer as one of the strategic ways of reaching out to disaster victims in an effort to reposition relief response and ensure transparency in line with emerging global best practices. The Director General of NEMA, Mr. Mustafa Maihaja, disclosed this at the Cash Transfer Preparedness Program organized for the staff of the agency and the Nigerian Red Cross by the International Committee for Red Cross ICRC in Abuja. Represented by the Director of Relief and Rehabilitation, Kayode Fagbemi, the DG said humanitarian scenario in Nigeria had become complex as a result of different emergencies being witnessed in recent years. He solicited the support of ICRC in the development of guidelines for cash transfer programming in the country. Also speaking at the event, leader of delegation from ICRC, Mr. Eloy Filon, said the transfer of knowledge to NEMA would ensure sustainability as ICRC might not be everywhere to provide assistance. And now to the Niger Delta. A group of investors and indigenes of the Niger Delta has condemned the federal government's cancellation of oil prospecting licenses OPL 2001, 2002 and 2003 in the Utapete field, stating that it was capable of reigniting chaos in the Niger Delta region. The investors affected by the cancellation are Jacon International Limited, High Rev Exploration Production Limited, and Oil and Industrial Services Limited. Addressing newsmen in Abuja, representatives of some of the investors said that after they won the bids for the blocks in 2007, the bid round was stalled for 8 years by litigation until it was resolved amicably in 2015. The representative of one of the major investors in OPL 2001 stated that many Niger Delta indigenes were pained by the action of the president in revoking the licenses of citizens from the oil-rich region without carrying out thorough consultations. And now in Osun State, the inquest constituted by Governor Rauf Aregbesola of Osun State to probe the cause of death of Senator Isiaka Adeleke has said that drug overdose killed the politician. He died on April 23, 2017. The coroner, Mr. Olusegun Ayilara, said this in his verdict today after about 3 weeks of investigations. He ruled out poison as the cause of death, saying no traces of it were found in the disease system, according to the autopsy and toxicologist reports. He said the high dose of sedatives and analgesics with the mode of administration caused aspiration, which culminated in death. The coroner had summoned 15 witnesses, including the nurse that treated Adeleke shortly before he died, Mr. Alfred Aderibigbe, the pathologist who carried out the autopsy on the corpse of the late politician, Dr. Taiwo Sulaja, as well as the chief medical director of Lautech Teaching Hospital Osogbo, Professor Akim Lasisi, also testified. Domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior that occurs between family members or partners to gain power and control. Domestic violence can take the form of physical, sexual, psychological, or economic abuse. Domestic violence occurs in every neighborhood among people of all races, cultures, religions, and income levels. Shagunfumi Oyedegun has more details.
Domestic violence is an issue of global concern. Domestic violence has been viewed as a criminal problem in the country. There are different forms of abuse which may occur in their home and the devastating consequences on the individual involved and the society at large. Traditionally in Nigeria, as in many other African countries, the beating of wives and children is widely sanctioned as a form of discipline. In beating their children, parents believe they are instilling discipline in them.
A reason for domestic violence. But we actually need to take a look at our background in Nigeria. I discovered that it starts from parents when we were very young. The kind of way our parents brought us up, shouting, hey, some people will even go to the extent of cursing children. Some, I know, some people that they find it very difficult to pay their kids compliments. Everything is, you have not done it well, you have not done it well, you have not done it well, you have not done it well. and the child grows up with a poor self-image, which is one of the consequences.
Violence against women in the home is generally regarded as belonging to the private sphere in Nigeria and is therefore shielded from outside scrutiny. A culture of silence reinforces the stigma attached to the victim rather than condemning the perpetrator of such crime.
Women should be free to report domestic violence because these are the two categories of people in society that are far more affected, that are far more vulnerable.
There are different forms of abuse individuals can be subjected to, which include physical abuse, economic abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, spiritual abuse, and emotional abuse.
The issue of domestic violence is quite deep, and there are things that the society should work on from the different.
Most times, victims of domestic violence are often in a position of dependence, either financially, emotionally, physically, or otherwise, on the person abusing them. Domestic violence victims often have their low self-esteem, finding it difficult to trust others. The anger and stress experienced by the victim may lead to depression and other emotional disorders, sometimes leading to suicide.
Work on from the different sectors, the legal aspect, the economic aspect, empowering women, the agricultural aspect, every form, including media. Media also has a big role to play in curbing and stemming the tide of domestic violence that is daily.
Hence, domestic violence gives rise to a violent society because charity begins at home. Segun Funmi Oyedokun reporting. Domestic violence is an issue.
We'll take a break now, and when we return, News on the Hour continues. Do stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. You're still watching News on the Hour here on New Frontiers Television. Up next is Foreign News by Jumoke Babalola.
The Democratic Republic of Congo government has given the go-ahead for an experimental Ebola vaccine to be used in the country. The country is currently battling an outbreak in the northeast, which has killed 4 people so far. The vaccine, called RVSV-ZEBOV, does not yet have a license, but in a paper published at the end of last year, it was shown to be highly effective. It is not yet clear how exactly the vaccine will be used in terms of when it will be distributed and who will get it. And on to the United Kingdom, British Prime Minister Theresa May says she would walk away from diverse talks with the European Union without a deal if she had to. But a rival in next week's election, Labour Jeremy Corbyn, said he would make sure an arrangement was reached if he won power. Britons will go to the polls in a vote to decide whether May from the centre-right Conservatives or Corbyn of the leftist Labour Party gets to sit down with Brussels and hammer out an exit deal that will define the country's trade and diplomatic ties with the European Union. Their differing stances could set the tone for what would, both Britain and the EU experts, will be 2 years of difficult talks on everything from how much cash would be paid upon exit to border arrangement for migrant goods and services. May is expected to win comfortably on June 8, but the party's lead in opinion polls has narrowed sharply in the last week, calling into question a decision to call the unscheduled election, seeking a strong endorsement of a Brexit strategy. And in Thailand, a British journalist has been arraigned with charged arms weapons that he was arrested with at a Thai airport for checking in flak jacket plates and gas masks, standard equipment for media heading into war zones and other hostile environments. 46-year-old Anthony Cheng was detained at Bangkok's Suvarnabhumi airport on Monday. along with Florian Witulski, a German freelance journalist, before he could board a flight to Iraq via Turkey for an assignment for China-based broadcaster CCTV English. Thailand's Arms Control Act stipulates that gas masks and ballistic vests are war weapons, and those carrying them need a license. Cheng faces up to 5 years in prison if he is found guilty. Olajumoke Babalola reporting for New Frontiers Television.
That was foreign news by Jumoke Babalola. Next is sports report from Adebola Adegoke.
Huddersfield Town won promotion to the Premier League in dramatic fashion as Christopher Skindell penalties sealed a 4-3 shootout victory over Reading in the Championship playoff final on Monday. David Wanger's side will play in the English top flight for the first time in 45 years after holding the nerve in the nerve-shedding penalty shootout that followed a 10-0 draw at Wembley.
He took it successfully, but this is different. Danny Williams for Reading, very calm indeed. Hefele off a worryingly long run. Al-Habsi wins the duel. The smallest man. A kick that brooked no argument, but he doesn't usually take the penalties. Maybe he should, because that's pretty emphatic. Moore. Clip the bar and then into outer space. Aaron Moy, the man from Australia. Level again. Beater. Noise level rising. And Ward with what could be the critical save. So it's a penalty. Christopher Schindler, if he scores, Huddersfield are up. He does score! Huddersfield Town will be playing in the Premier League for the first time in their illustrious history.
Borussia Dortmund and Germany midfielder Marco Reus sustained a partial ligament tear in his right knee during Saturday's German Cup final against Eintracht Frankfurt and will be out for several months. Reus, who has made just 24 appearances for Dortmund in an injury-reduced season, was substituted in the first half of the final, which Dortmund won 2-1 to secure the first major trophy in 5 years. Reus was also omitted from the German squad for next month's Confederation Cup. Barcelona have appointed Ernesto Valverde as their head coach on a 2-year deal with an option for a third. Former Barca forward Valverde announced last week that he was leaving Athletic Bilbao after 4 years in charge. He replaces Luis Enrique, who revealed in March that he would leave the club, who finished second in La Liga at the end of his 3-year contract. Enrique led Barcelona to the treble in his first season, the domestic double in 2016 and the Copa del Rey this year. Valverde's presentation as Barca's new coach will take place on Thursday. Adebola Adeleke, reporting for New Frontiers Television Station.
The sports report from Adebola Adeleke. We conclude news on the hour. Thanks for joining us. I am Precious Amayo.